I live with over 100 amazing creatures. Some of them look like this, or even this, and they live in immaculate enclosures like this one, and even this one. Room after room, but I'm going to show you this one. Last time we did a tour like this whole wall was a bunch of glass enclosures. There was stuff at the back, and we've kind of narrowed down what we keep in here to just the really fun stuff. The stuff that looks good, starting with our blue-tongue skink, Steve. Now, Steve is a northern blue-tongue skink. I took Steve out to shoot some B-roll with him, and he seems like he really doesn't want to be anywhere around me. And that blue tongue that he's got right there, that is to tell predators, I am venomous, I am poisonous, I am scary, put me away. Which is exactly what I'm gonna do. Now, this blue-tongue skink is different than the one we'll show you at the end. Erwin, that guy is from Australia, and the next one that we're gonna show you is from Indonesia. But first, let's just go across the top and show you a snake that's not from anywhere like that. Right next to Steve is Marowak. Now, a Marowak is a full-grown Dumeril's boa. Dumeril's boas are from Madagascar. We had to find some of these in the wild last year. And what's really interesting about them is they're big, they're powerful, but they're kind of stocky like a bulldog, and their poop smells real bad. I don't know why it smells so bad, but it smells so bad. And I've got this guy in a 4-foot enclosure. We're moving things around. You're gonna see in a second, we've got some open 8-foot enclosures. So this guy might be going in one of those, or one of the 6-foot enclosures that we're gonna order too. So he's getting a little bit of an upgrade, but what I love about these guys is they have that cool pattern that matches where they're from in the wild. So in some places, it's a little bit darker, more red, light, and that the locality of where they're from in Madagascar is going to reflect that. So if I had to guess, you'd probably find these guys where it's a little bit darker soil. Everybody knows who this is. This is Diamond, the bearded dragon. He's kind of always like this on my shoulder in the videos. This guy here is, I guess he's 7 or 8 years old now. I got him in 2019 and he was 3 years old or something like that then. I am the third owner that has him, and he's in one of these enclosures that's 2 foot by 4 foot, and it's a Cages enclosure with my name on the back. So thanks Cages for sending that to me. Appreciate you guys. And in this enclosure, we just have a 50-watt halogen bulb from the dollar store. We've also got some sticks, some bricks. We've got a UVB bulb, and then we've got yesterday's salad, which we'll dump out tomorrow because I think there's a couple crickets in there still that are going to go ahead and try to eat it. So feed this guy crickets, feed him greens, that's kind of it. Wham bam Bob's your uncle. We'll put him back and move on to the next one. Right beside Diamond is Frankie. Frankie is my Fiji banded iguana, also in a 4x2x2 enclosure that is made by Cages. So Cages, again, thank you so much. Of all the lizards in my collection, I don't think there's one more beautiful than Frankie. This animal here with the blues, the greens, the contrast, and the fact that he's moving around all the time, I think it's gonna be fun to give him an upgrade. Once the upgrade finally comes, I've got something that's 6 feet tall coming for him. But for now, he's doing great, and the humidity is perfect. Basking bulb, UVB, toss in 2 or 3 crickets a week with all the salad this guy could ever want, and you've got yourself a happy Fiji banded iguana. And to be honest, actually, I don't have a Fiji banded iguana. It's a Tonga banded iguana, which are a little bit smaller, a little bit more blue. It's the same genus, different species, and no one's gonna know the difference. Did you know the difference? And now I wanna show you something that you're not gonna see in other reptile room tours. An enclosure that isn't perfect, in fact, is destroyed, but don't freak out. I'm gonna put her into this, but she's in here for now. And the reason is, I'm taking this 8-foot enclosure, I'm gonna put this animal in the one right below this enclosure, which is an 8-foot by Cages, thank you so much. And then I'm gonna spruce this one up and put something else in it. If I'm gonna put the Dumeril's boa or the other berm that needs an enclosure upgrade, either way, 8-foot enclosure, 2 feet deep. And this is a beautiful animal, but my more cantankerous Burmese python. So I'd rather just spend more time on this one. And that's Thunder, the very first Burmese python that I ever got. Now, Thunder had a little bit of a run-in with a respiratory infection recently, and there's gonna be an entire video all about that. I'm just kind of working through it right now and making sure that she's all better before I show her at her worst to make sure that she makes a full recovery, which it seems like. So what we did is we put her in a smaller enclosure, only 4 feet long, and we bumped the heat way up and then had to adjust the humidity too. And it turns out we didn't even really need to give her meds, but we did just in case anyway. And the respiratory infection kind of fixed itself. This is my favorite of the Burmese pythons in terms of looks and temperament combination, because everybody knows Kratos, who we're going to get to, but he doesn't look like this. He's not an albino. He's the way you'd find them in the wild. And there's a special place in my heart for albino animals. What do you think your favorite morph is? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm sure you're asking, and if you have in the comments section, how do you keep track of this many animals? Husbandry Pro. I love this company. I was a customer before they sponsored me. And let me tell you, if customer service was like this everywhere, like it is at Husbandry Pro, I'm telling you, 5-star reviews all day. If you want to keep track of 5 animals, 50 animals, or 500 animals, there's a plan for you. And in fact, if you want to try it for 5 animals, it's always free. And you get 30 days even if you have 500 animals. Another thing I love is feeding reminders, so push notifications. If my Burmese pythons have to eat tomorrow and they haven't eaten for 6 weeks and maybe I'll forget because it was so long ago, boom, I get a notification so I remember. If you're a breeder, there's features where you can create breeding plans. And if you want to sell your animal as a breeder to another breeder, you can even transfer it if they're a Husbandry Pro user. Plus, you can share your collection, incubator, and birthing records with the public, and it integrates with other platforms. Plus, my favorite part, it's constantly evolving. If I email Husbandry Pro and say, hey, why isn't this like this? I think this is a good idea. Sometimes the next day, those bugs are fixed. And now I haven't had a bug in I don't know how long. And now is the right time for you to sign up, track all your reptiles, make it way easier for yourself, less headache, and go to my link below for a full free 30 days. In the middle of the 2 stacks is an enclosure that's 4 feet by 4 feet by 2 foot, and inside of it, monkey-tail skinks. A pair, a male and a female. Now these are from the Solomon Islands, and I would love to get them to breed, but I can't figure it out. What's cool about George and Abu, which is the monkey-tail skinks that I have here, is they're going to give birth to live babies. And the live babies are so big. It's the equivalent to a mother, a human, giving birth to a 6-year-old. I thought she was pregnant, she's not. We're gonna keep trying. And they're herbivores, so they're gonna eat things like pothos, which is crazy because it's toxic to so many things, Swiss chard, arugula, whatever, and there's a salad in there, and as you can see, one of them is taking a nap in the salad. I got a comment last time about how the top of the enclosure, about a foot and a bit, wasn't occupied. It's a lot of wasted space. And the reason I do that is because the UVB reads too high if I go any higher. So I need enough space between the UVB light and the top perch here, and I don't want these animals to suffer the negative effects of having UVB that is too strong for the species. Moving over, we've got the triplex, I like to call it. We've got 2 snakes in here, one of them is empty, and once the 2 snakes get upgraded, there's just gonna be 2 4-foot enclosures here, and we're not gonna have to worry about this. Now, in the first one is Pittsburgh, the Maclat's python. We just did a video about Maclat's pythons. I love them, they're awesome. The problem is sometimes they're a little bit cantankerous, and the reason I'm not holding Pittsburgh right now is because she very much is. So she'll be getting an upgrade into a 4-foot and then eventually something that's probably 6 foot, but she's got more than enough space in there. And then right beside is Jimmy, my spotted python. And Jimmy is a spotted python that's almost full grown. He is almost 4 years old, so he's gotta be pretty close. He's not cooperating, as you can see today, but normally he looks like this. He's growing much smaller, or much slower, I should say, than he used to grow because he is approaching adult size. And then right beside, there's nothing in that enclosure right now. So let's move down below Thunder into the next one. Erwin's a little camera shy, a little bit more than Steve. He's a little bit more recluse. He doesn't want to ramble around on the floor, go crazy as much as Steve does, but he's the first one I got. I love this animal, and he's one of those animals that I would hand to a child, for example. Like, I know he's not gonna bite anybody. He's got pretty crazy claws, and they do kind of like to swim in the air, these skinks. I feel like he's about to do it. And he's one of those ones where although you don't ever wanna grab a skink by the tail, if I go ahead and nudge him on the tail or grab his tail to bring him close to me, I know that he's not gonna drop it. He's just chill, he's cool. He's just shy. He just doesn't want to be in the limelight. And he lives in a 4x2x2 enclosure as well, which is the perfect size for a blue-tongued skink. He's an Indo, and he's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. I've never seen an Indonesian skink this big. I heat him with a heat panel, and I have a UVB light in there, and that's it. throw a couple logs in there, some fake plants, because he would destroy real ones, and that's all you got. Now, I'm gonna put him back and show you that right below him, we've got an empty enclosure. This is an enclosure that the heat panel basically blew up, not really blow up, but it malfunctioned, so we have to replace it, and there's nothing in there for now. But this is the thing that I come down here to see. If ever I wanna look at reptiles, look at nature, and look at an environment, this is it. This is an enclosure that is 8 foot by 6 foot tall by 4 feet deep. It is almost 1,500 gallons. There's a whole video right here setting it up, and now is the first look on the channel of what it looks like today. We mounted a bunch of epiphytes on the wall. They're gonna grow. We mounted them to cork, just screwed them in there. And then there's a bunch of plants that are going to trail up the logs, up the walls, and we've added a bunch of dart frogs. We added a bunch of baby red-eye tree frogs, 2 anoles. There's some microfauna I can't wait to show you in the next episode. And also, there's gonna be emerald tree boas that go inside of here. We're just getting ready, making sure that it's perfect before we put them in there. But look at this thing. It's absolutely fantastic how this enclosure has turned from this to this. And it wasn't an overnight process, let's say, but it was worth it. And if you wanna see a video, part 2 about how we did this and then putting the emeralds in there, let me know in the comment section below. Franny is one of my oldest animals. I got Franny when I had maybe 10 other animals back in 2017. I love this boa constrictor. I think she's great. She's a BI, boa imperator. And I think that this animal might be done growing finally. So now snakes grow their entire life, but they slow down to the point where that's when I call it, they stop growing. This is an animal that's probably 7 foot, maybe 8, and it's in an 8 foot enclosure that is 3 feet high and 4 feet deep. So these enclosures are really, really big. They're well over 700 gallons if you want to put it that way. And inside I built a jungle gym out of 2x4s, and I think in the future I might add some logs and sticks and things like that. I like to collect those in the winter though, because it's freezing out here. We live in Canada. And when it's freezing, it's easy to make sure that the things I bring inside that are too big to put in the oven to cook don't have any microfauna that are still living on them. And of course it has a misting system, just like all of these do as well. The enclosure that we showed you first, the monkey tails, and the stack beside it all have misting systems that go off automatically. Everything in here is well hydrated. And right below that is probably my favorite snake in the exact same size enclosure. Of course, he's a troublemaker. Well, it's not his fault. The lights went out. They started to buzz and flicker, and we're just going to replace them. I had strip lights on the inside, which I've shown in a lot of videos how to do. So recently what I've been doing is putting grow lights in. I think they look better, they look nicer. They finally came today. So in the next reptile room tour, this enclosure will be lit up again because we'll put these in tomorrow, or what day is it today? Thursday? But for now, he's in the dark, but that's okay. These animals are nocturnal animals, and for him not to have lights for 2 or 3 days, it's fine. But this is what his enclosure normally looks like. With sticks from outside, big logs, he's got a big water bowl, and I love to handle this guy because he's not cantankerous. He'll huff and puff. Sometimes it's funny because the monkey tail just huffed and puffed as I said that. Like Burmese pythons do, but a normal Burmese python that is heterozygous for hypo, which is how we got these babies from him, and Lightning, who we showed you earlier. What I never show you in this room is what's behind the camera, and that is some smaller enclosures for some smaller animals. In the first one here, we've got some baby Chihuahua geckos that we're raising up, and they're ready for sale. So if you're in Canada and you want them, message me. I can't ship them across to the US, but if you want them in Canada, shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll be happy to answer you. And then right beside that, we've got this amazing looking tiger crested gecko. Tiger crested geckos, I didn't even know that was a thing. I had 2 crested geckos, they put out babies, and we got some tigers. He's probably my prettiest. He's a male, and I'm likely going to keep him, so I'm just keeping him in this enclosure, which he's grown up in, until I can put him in something bigger and maybe find him a girlfriend too. And then the last one that we have here is even smaller Chihuahua geckos. So again, if you want them, come get them, but we set them all up. I'd rather do this than put them in bins or tubs, and just put them in some enclosures that are behind the door, behind the camera. Nobody ever really sees except for me, and that's why sometimes you'll see me smiling in the videos, because one of them will act like a little goofball. Which is my favorite part about crested geckos, and Jehovah geckos. They're just always kind of moving.
I've shown you everything in here, but would you like to see all the animals in here? Let me know in the comments section below. And please do hit subscribe while you're down there. It helps the channel a ton. As always, thank you so much to the Patreon supporters. You guys get videos early, discounts on merch. You know about the secret projects that we're doing and all the animals in the other room. For as little as $1 a month, you can be part of the Patreon club too. And that's it. I do videos Mondays and Thursdays, so I'll see you in the next one.